Welcome everyone. Welcome to Drakenmemoria. For those of you who might be wondering what this is, well, it's about Dungeons and Dragons. More specifically, a group of people playing Dungeons and Dragons. So if really this isn't your thing, well, sorry, we already started. And it's probably not going to change next week or the week after that, or and so on and so on. So either you grow a taste for Dungeons and Dragons or you go somewhere else. For everyone else, welcome back. Welcome among us. It's a pleasure to have you with us. It's a pleasure to have you back. It's just a very nice pleasure. So, say hi in the chat if you can. It's always fun to know you're there, you know. I know there's usually not a lot of people when we start because we have had a habit of starting 10 minutes late, early, late, anyway. But hey, if you're there, say hi. If not, too bad. You just miss your chance to say hi, to be the first.
Now you have to shut up.
No, they can still say something, but they're not going to be first. You know, it's...
Yeah, that's for the YouTube audience.
To be
First.
Yeah, no, I know, but you know, sometimes some people like it when they're the first one to write something because they're sure everyone's gonna read it. That's probably why I still keep receiving porn ads on my YouTube channel because you know they're the first one to write.
At least the porn industry cares.
Yeah,
It's always nice to know that the porn industry always comes first.
That's one way of putting it. Unfortunately, most of them don't keep it there, so you know. But I don't complain all that much. It's nice to know that someone cares. It's just nicer to know that it's someone who cares about Dungeons and Dragons. Although I'm not judging, you know, some of those people probably like Dungeons and Dragons also.
Let's be real here. There is definitely a D&D porn tag.
Why are we talking about
Because they're the only one who leaves messages on the YouTube channel. If someone else was leaving messages, I would be glad to talk about them. But they're not. And, you know, we have to be very inclusive nowadays. It's a very old profession, so... If a group of them wanted to have a Dungeon and Dragon group, I wouldn't be against it, so long as they're good actors. By that I mean that they can interact with people without involving imagery. So,
all right, recap.
exactly what I was gonna say. You just stole the words right out of my mouth. All right, so exactly as you said, recap, and don't worry, there's no porn in the last episode, or in the last 66 others before. So, as our paladin said, let's have a recap of what happened last episode. Because last episode, finally, the party managed to get back on track. They spent a little bit of time in a weird maze forest filled with magic, keeping them trapped. They did their best to solve the puzzle, and they did. Almost perfectly. But, you know, not exactly perfect. But the important is that everyone learned from their mistakes and everyone is alive at the end. That's a very important part of learning from your mistakes. Being alive to learn.
Gold star.
Yeah, that's So they learned. They contacted the garden, told them about what had happened. They seemingly got a new quest line for someone in the garden to research for names of entities that seems to be appearing, a bit at random for the past 2 months since the party has been adventuring, or rather, they've been aware of this happening for about 2 months. But they went back to the garden where Fisher had to let a group of gnome confirm that Tery had survived. And this is where he learned that most creatures need to breathe. But don't worry, Tery is still alive.
Design flaw, if you ask me.
Well, depends on what you do after with it. But he's still alive. They made their report, and they went back on the road, doing their best to get back on track, because audience really wanted to see his favorite. I'm having trouble putting a word on this. Favorite...
Side girl.
Well,
we'd say, let's say main girl for now. I mean, I got other side girls. We'll move on. We'll call her main girl for now.
Main interest for audience. They got back in the city of Otanel with its flying port right above it. For Jorg, it was the first time that he actually saw a flying port, with the ships arriving and leaving. It's very large city, very commercial. Everyone made their way up the rings of the city, of the different tiers of the city, to the highermost tier of the city, where the most rich and powerful can be found. This is where they found Amiali, the monk that audience is so fond of. And as if answering a prayer, he realized that the person wanting the group to finish this quest was Amiali's sister. Another woman with silver hair. Very similar also. Not exactly twins, but, they could be twins, just not identical. But most likely not. But nevertheless, audience was thrilled at seeing this and sort of made a small mistake while talking and trying to impress this new person in mentioning the garden. But to be fair, audience did know that this could be a mistake. No one told him. But, nevertheless, the mood of the conversation changed drastically when he did. And so the party finished gathering their information, gathering themselves. Amiali and Antasia left to talk by themselves as it became apparent that Amiali hadn't mentioned to her sister that she was also part of the garden. A few moments later, Bob, which is the elemental creature friend of Diviner and Tassia, left the inn in which they were to go and prepare her Vardo. And so this is when the audience decided that he needed to follow Bob, because he would lead her to where she was staying, and he really wanted a moment alone to share information and to have a chance to learn more about this very attractive woman, who is very similar to the other very attractive woman. The rest of the group found their way to an inn in the lowest tier of the city. They gathered around the table and decided to study Tery a bit, try and learn more. Unfortunately, our druid found itself in front of a creature which was a bit too alien for his taste and wasn't able to very proficiently ascertain what sort of creature that could be because of a bad roll. So basically he realized that, okay, it's somewhere between a worm and a maggot, and it's maybe a bit closer to a worm than a maggot. But that was about it. Fisher decided to feed it old meat and cooked meat, which he seemed to take the old meat, or rather go stand in the middle of the old meat and try and drink the juices of the raw meat dripping on the table. And then, frustrated because he couldn't get any more information, Fisher decided to go into sentry mode and start a 8-hour staring contest with Tery. This is where the last episode ended, with this very fascinating staring
6 hour
contest.
staring contest.
Yeah. So Jorg, Fisher, and Remy all went to bed, but one of our party members didn't go to bed. He went to party all night with a mage, which most likely won't be the most active a party. But nevertheless, audience, as
I don't know. Have you ever snorted pixie dust? I mean, what? Nothing. I tried it once when I was a teen, please. I'd like to talk.
you know, they did say that it was an aphrodisiac, so you just wanted to know if it worked.
I'm also still a teen, so saying when I was a teen.
I mean, you also followed a rock elemental, so like you might sooner huff rock salt.
Sure.
That's bound to have a weird effect. Alright, so, audience, you leave the comfort of the inn trying to figure out where Bob is going. And it's a rock elemental, roughly 3 feet in height, in the middle of the night. So it's not the most discreet thing to follow. But then again, he has colors which can be a bit hard to follow. But it's one of those very large cities, so the streets are lit. Not as well as we'd have a city nowadays, but still, there are a few lanterns lighting the way. So, audience, how are we going to go about following Bob? Do you try just yell to him? Try to follow him sneakily?
We'll keep the what's it, the 15-foot, the classic 15-foot gap of just kind of walking behind the person, but not really seeming like you're walking behind the person.
It's not 50. That's so close to somebody.
Yeah.
And, that's what audience would know because he knows nothing about stealth.
Yeah, I'm. Where I am, there are 2 columns, and I've basically measured between them, and it's exactly 10 feet. So this is very interesting. I'm looking at the 2 columns, and you said 15 feet? Yeah! That's so discreet. So,
Super discreet.
yeah. Are you trying to do this discreetly, or are you just...
Yeah, we'd say discreetly,
So-
but not like...
So, roll a stealth roll?
Okay. Do I get advantage because it's night?
Well, I was going to say, I can give you a choice. It can be either stealth or performance.
I'll take
Because
stealth.
all right, well then stealth.
I get +3 to stealth.
What do you have for performance?
Ooh, that's an 8. It's not great. Not super stealthy.
All right, well,
I'm also 15 feet behind the man, so not that surprising.
yeah. So yeah, that's probably why you didn't get advantage, because you're 15 feet behind. What was that?
It's my cord came unplugged.
Okay.
I mean, either that or the real reason why the stealth failed is because audience decided to follow him in his Corvette.
No, that sounded more like a landmore.
Did the train just go by? I don't know.
Okay, so you're trying to follow him, and you see he's walking pretty candidly in the street, and you cross the first ring out of the city, and you see the two guards there just looking at the rock elemental, then looking at you. Just keeps on moving. You keep on following him to the next tier of the city, and you see the two guards just halting the elemental and hold up. He looks at them. He's with me. Pointing toward you. Sit down. Oh. They turn to you, so he's your creature. Is that it? They're looking at you, audience.
No, he's not my creature. I would say a loose acquaintance at best. But a helpful one at the moment.
As opposed to a tight acquaintance.
The guards look at you for a moment, and they sort of size you up, and you see that there's a very confused look on their face, and all right, move on. See Bob starting.
Are we out of the rich section, by the way, anymore?
Yes.
Okay, audience gonna take off the shirt and just kind of drop it off somewhere.
Thank God we don't have to wear clothes anymore. Ah.
And then the city guard find you and fine you for littering.
I don't think the city guard. I'm sure someone will pick up the shirt. I'm sure someone will want a shirt, especially if I drop it in the lower district that we are now entering.
Yeah, right now you're entering into the more commercial district of the city. So at this time there aren't any shop open, but there's still people walking about because there's still inns that are opened.
Oh, wait, actually, can I walk by what looks like a nice clothes shop and just kind of drop off my shirt on top of it like it's one of the guys' wares, and then keep walking?
Sure, make a perception roll, see if you can find something.
I think that'd be rather amusing. 15. Of course, I'm well on perception for that. Okay.
It's just how things are, All right, so you, while keeping fairly close to Bob, you see one of those shops. Oh yeah, that looks like a place where they sell clothes. So you just veer off a bit, take the shirt off, leaving it in the front of the shop, and then just keeps on walking with Bob. Bob stops for a moment and he turns around, looking at you do this, and you just hear him say, "Well, that's bold. But hey, it's a choice." He turns around and just keeps walking.
I'll keep following him.
So as you're walking through this commercial district, slowly going toward the gate, you hear Bob say, "Well, you're not very good at this following things. I made a stone, and I can usually do a better job than you."
I'll say it was the shirt. It was messing me up.
Yeah. Because now it's so much better.
I mean, I haven't been trying since you initially noticed me.
Right. Yeah, that's right. You were trying. Okay. It's good to know.
Maybe my presence just naturally seems like I'm trying to be stealthy. You know.
Yeah. Because you're so hard to notice.
Passes by a torchlight, scales glitter.
Glittering slightly.
Well, I wouldn't say I'm any Remy, but you know, I do my best.
Yeah. So, is there a reason why you're following me? Conversation.
I mean,
He keeps saying this as you pass on the lowest tier of the city. So, is there a reason why you're following me?
I mean, I wouldn't say a large one. You know.
Ah, that's very funny.
I was, you know, probably gonna see if your master, if her sister was still there, and if she's not, I was gonna, you know, try and talk with her. I don't know if she's your master. That might have been an assumption.
Yeah, that was an assumption. We're good friends. That's all.
Okay, well, you know, that seems like a better lot for you than the other way. So I'm glad I was wrong with my assumption.
You need to be careful about assumption, you know. They can get you into trouble.
It's a good thing I'm okay at getting out of trouble.
That's one way of looking at it.
Hard cut to the 3 explicit times where he got himself into trouble and others had to get him out.
You're slowly walking through the streets. You know, it's the lowest tier of the city, the one where there's most peasants. This is the calmest tier of the city because most of the people that live here are, it's basically just houses. A few shops, but mostly houses. So a lot of people are either at home or inside inns. Evening is getting to be a bit late, so some of the people are just going back home. But as you cross the last gate, again, you see the guards looking at Bob. And just as they're about to say something, "I'm with him." And they look at you for a moment. You recognize the way that they're looking, and is that true?
Yes, I'd say we are slightly less loose acquaintances now.
The guard looks at you, slightly confused. Slightly less unacquainted compared to when?
Don't worry, it was a callback from earlier. You wouldn't get it.
Okay, go on.
I almost wanted to see like a confusion roll. Like where's the confusion stat in D&D?
Usually, being confused is more or less a reference to failing a roll to understand what's going on. So, you walk outside of the wall of the city, inside this small village or town that seems to be growing, and he just points toward this wagon that's maybe 100 feet away. That's the wagon over there. She's still gonna take a little while. She has a few things to talk with family.
Audience looks for a place to not be when such family leaves. But also marks the space on his map.
You take out the map and you start, place.
Not mental map, not actual map. The map of his mind. And then he will look for... How long do you think she'll be, actually, Glass Bomb?
Well, that's a hard one to answer. How long would you think that it would take for you if you had to talk to one of your brothers or sisters? Because I've heard that clans have a very brotherly, sisterly way of living, which suddenly gives you information that you are supposed to have known for several months, but then it becomes obvious that they were hiding it.
Audience will say, so I'm going to give about 3 hours.
Okay.
And then he will also... He's going to look around for if there's any place he thinks that he could observe the thing, but would not be noticed. But, somewhere, fairly far away, because he's, he knows that Amiali is very, very perceptive.
Alright. I'd say this would go more into investigation, as you're trying to assess, is this going to be in visual line? Where's the wind coming from?
That's a 9.
So you look around and see this bench on the other side of the street. And, it's not on the main street. And it's actually probably closer to an improvised bench, 2 logs with a plank. It's not obvious that people will sit there to wait for someone. It's probably just a place where people sit when they're tired, so you're gonna look like someone who's tired and just resting for a while.
Alright.
That's what a 9 will give you.
Audience will lie down on the bench and half close his eyes like he's sleeping.
Yeah, you really look like a homeless people right now. So, you wait for a while. It's getting later and later. Is audience enthralled, passionate about this enough to not risk falling asleep while he's waiting?
Yes, he wouldn't fall asleep. He would probably... The audience would be more likely to get bored and do things like shift position or stop being as obvious that he was pretending to be asleep.
Alright, so you probably will do that within the next 2 hours of waiting. Because, you're just 2 hours, first 30 minutes, it's easy to just stay there. But after 30 minutes, you sort of, well, that's long. 45 minutes. How does Amiali do it? She just meditates. You've seen her once in the garden meditating for 2 hours straight. How does she do it?
Dude, they were shift position, no, that's not comfortable. Okay, I can do. Nope.
Readjusting one of the logs, changing place a little bit, bouncing
pulls out his sword again, looks at it, is yeah, no, it's looking pretty shiny, pretty polished, puts it back away.
Start using his 2-handed sword to carve something in the plank of wood he's sitting on, just because there's a challenge in this.
Starts trying to practice moving it between his fingers. How did they do that?
she's a wizard. You know, a lot of wizards are very dexterous. How it's gonna impress her if I manage this? And oh wow, all right. Maybe it's because the coin isn't balanced. That must be it. You know, that's...
I mean, I guess I could roll a dexterity roll for that.
Yeah, sure. I'd say even...
Okay, actually an unnatural 20. I'm learning quickly.
Damn, yeah. You know, you do this, you want to impress her. So this is the motivation behind this. So you just going there and the first 2 coins you just drop and you actually spend 5 minutes looking for them. But then you start getting the hang of it and all right, that's kind of good. That's kind of nice. And you look around. No one's... Well, actually, no. There's Bob coming toward you.
Uh-huh.
He's looking at you, and he seems to have something in his hands. And
I'm like, what's up? What's up, stranger? I don't... Who are you? Shit.
do you want to roll deception for this?
I mean, it's Bob. I assume he assumes that I'm just trying to put on some kind of act.
Oh yeah, no, he definitely. I was saying this for someone who might be watching. See how convincing you are.
19. I'm fairly
19.
convincing.
That's pretty convincing. You know, you really look like a homeless person right now. No shirt. Homeless adventurer.
Doing my best acting. Just like, hello, stranger. It's a cold night out here. Gets in my bones.
My old bones ache.
My old bones.
He looks at you. Yeah. it just won't stop. Yeah, it's a good thing it's a dry night because with wind like this, it's would be pretty bad if there was humidity also. Here, I thought you might like something to eat. Oh, poor homeless maniac with a sword. And he pushes a bowl of something liquid. It looks some between tea and soup. You know?
Yeah. Eyes will be like, oh, that's so kind of you, sir. It's been so long. Takes the bowl. The kindness of strangers is what keeps me going.
Is he on your side?
And I'll like sip at the bowl of soup.
Alright. You can keep the bowl. He just goes back to the wagon, which is on the other side of the street. Just only two house. A little bit further. You do notice that the wagon drops at least a foot when he enters the Vardo. So it's he's pretty heavy, but you know he's.
Do I? Damn, audience is more observant in this story than normally I am.
So after 2 hours drinking this, you're not sure, but yeah, there's something very comforting with this, like a soup, but it smells a lot closer to something like a tea of some sort.
Poison. It's poison. Fucking poison.
Make a constitution roll. No.
God damn it, Bob.
So you sip this for a while and it helps you not become too bored. Up until the bowl is empty and now you will, what am I going to do with that? But after 2 hours, finally, you see someone walking in the street. And it looks like Antasia, but she's alone. She's not walking with Amiali.
I do not completely still trust this. I know Ami Ali can be very invisible. Audience is suspicious.
And she's really not hard to see. She's not trying to hide She's walking in plain sight under the few lamps that are still lit at this time of the night. It's getting a bit late. Probably somewhere between, I don't know, 10:30 and 11:30. So most people are asleep, and it's only sentinel lights that are still open, that are still lit. But she's walking confidently toward the Vardo, and she stops a moment on the street, looks around, and she looks in your direction, of course, with your masterful...
Audience will start shaking his bowl. Could you spare a few coins for a poor traveler?
For the poor.
The empty soup bowl, you know.
Oh, goodness. Make a deception roll. See how convincing you are.
God, I'm rolling well right now on this random stuff. That's another unnatural 20. My acting is very on point for this character. Apparently I am. If anyone ever needs someone to play a homeless man, I'm your guy. Audience is your guy.
Alright, well... You see her look at you, and she has this little smirk, this... She keeps walking. She goes toward the Vardo. You see her enter. Close the door, leaving you alone in the street.
Audience will wait a good 10 minutes and make sure there was nobody following her. Or that the Holly is nowhere nearby to the best of his perception.
Make a perception roll.
What is happening? I think 16. We're gonna get into the... Guys, we can't do the dungeon today. All my rolls are gone. They're all gone.
So, you look around. You wait for a moment where even the guard seems to be not looking in your direction. Of course, the two giant construct are still looking straight forward, but the guards themselves, they look to be slightly distracted because it's a very lonely night. Pretty windy, as always. It's a windy year. But everything seems to be quiet. You see this perfect moment where you think you could cross the street and get there. Maybe if Amiali is nearby, she won't see you. You have a little doubt on that, but hey, man.
I have a lot of doubt on that, but I at least haven't noticed her, and she hasn't followed her sister for 10 minutes, so I'm gonna take it she's not here, or at least hope she's not here.
You just get up.
Mostly
start
blind
walking.
hope. I'll make my way quickly over to the Vardo, like, checking different directions.
Like an assassin in the night. Right.
Right. You know, a 7-foot, 326-pound assassin, glittering scales, but sure.
With a great sword on his back and a long sword on his hip. Shield also.
Yeah.
No one's gonna notice it.
No one notices me. I'm incredibly stealthy.
I am silent as the wind.
I am, in fact, I will tell you how stealthy I am. Oh.
You're going back to normal now?
No, it just went off.
Okay.
But yes, I am. I'm back to a 6.
So you try and be stealthy. You walk fast, cross the street, turn around, and wham! You didn't saw a low-hanging sign from a shop. Oh, that hurts. You're pretty sure everyone heard that.
Audience will quickly just yell, "My old bones," and then run to the bar now.
And for a moment in your mind, you hear this thought about, I sure hope Amiali's not watching this.
Yells, "My old bones."
So, you get to the side of the Vardo. No one seems to be looking at you.
I mean, I guess I'll knock.
Alright.
As is polite.
So, you arrive at the Vardo. You raise your hand. Just as you're about to knock, you hear, it's not locked.
Audience will go, okay, mage. Like, makes sense. Probably have the door warded. But he'll open the door.
And inside, well, just like it was said when you were inside of the inn, the Vardo is slightly bigger inside. Not huge. Just when you look in, you can't help but to look inside, look out, look inside. Feels like there's a few feet missing on each side. And definitely about 10 feet more inside than outside when it comes to how deep it is.
How tall is it, like, vertical?
From the outside, it felt like you were going to have to walk... I forgot the word. Just
Hunched?
Exactly, hunched. But once you open the door and you look inside, okay, apparently you can walk standing straight and still have 1 or 2 feet of clearance above your head.
Alright. Not walking.
She has her back to you, but she's working just a little bit further in, and you can just hear her say, just leave the bowl at the entrance.
Audience will put down his bowl. Or the bowl. It's not his bowl.
So, and you see that she just finishes placing a few things. Please sit down. I have a feeling you wanted to talk to me.
I had a feeling you wanted to talk to me as well.
Yes, I'm pretty sure. What went through Audience's mind as he said that?
I mean, just that seemed to be the response. I mean, she had mentioned at the end, she's like, she had seemed interested in talking to me. Not a lot went through his mind.
Well, I was more
Girl
interested.
wants to talk to him. What more does he need?
He was like, that seems like a slightly clever thing to say, as well as also it seems accurate, so I'll go with that.
Okay. She turns around with an amused look on her face. Yes. Well, please sit down. She looks to you and says, and I believe your name is...
Audience.
Just before you say it, as if she was just waiting for you to want to say it. Audience. Isn't that it?
Yes.
If I'm not mistaken, Audience Autumn Draconis, isn't it?
That is my full name.
Yes.
Where did you hear it?
I am a diviner.
Ah. Audience will look slightly nervous.
Yes, she did read all your thoughts.
Remove all lustful thoughts immediately from the brain.
As she says that, and she looks straight at you, you feel this moment of you feel slightly uncomfortable, nervous. Yeah. As a paladin, you are aware of the divining sphere. You know how far it can get because of the priestly nature of a lot of these divining spells. Could you make a wisdom saving throw for me, please?
And we're back, boys. That's a 6.
All right. She looks at you and you feel her gaze piercing through you. As if you were barely made out of Bible paper. And
Audience starts thinking watermelon butterfly, watermelon butterfly.
for this moment, as you're thinking, okay, I know how this works. And you start saying in your mind, watermelon butterfly, watermelon butterfly. You see her gaze, and it feels like she is piercing so deeply into you that she is going way beyond this. And for a moment, you feel as if your entire being was a book, and she just opened it. And is reading into it as easily as you can start talking.
Audience, realizing this, will take a different tact and say, not a bad read for one so young as I must say.
Yes, well, I'm sure this is a very interesting perspective that you have. Now that you're really in front of her, alone with her, don't have to worry about anyone else, and you're looking at her, and although she doesn't seem to be staring at you as intently as it feels like she is doing it, you feel less shy about doing the same thing. And the first thing you notice about her is the slight differences between her and Amiali. They both have silver hair. That's the part that is unmistakable and making it very hard to not notice that they're sisters. And even their face, there's very, very strong similarities between them. They even have the same eye color. But you also notice the differences. Amiali has spent her entire life honing her body, transforming it into the tool she needs to get through any situation. So she's muscular for a woman. She's a bit taller than the average woman. She's fit. And there's a very strong sense of confidence emanating from her. Antasya is slightly different. It shows that she has spent most of her life owning her mind, transforming it into this incredibly powerful tool. So physically, she's less imposing than her sister. She even is, when you look at her like this, because you spend so much time memorizing how Amiali is, or being mesmerized by Amiali, both point of view can work. You realize that she is maybe an inch and a half shorter than her. And she does look 4 or 5 years younger than her. So Amiali's at the end of her 20s. She looks barely at the mid of her 20s. But she looks like someone who has seen a little bit of adventure. She is wearing a purple long coat with very long tails. And looking at her, it's obvious that this coat is made for adventuring. There are a few pockets. You have a feeling that there is probably dimensional storage pockets inside, maybe. But she has the same confidence in her eyes as Amiali has. She looks at you and says, "So, you wanted to talk to me about something."
Audience, nods, says, I don't know why I went third person there. I was thinking, my mind went to thinking about what to say, so I slipped into third person there. My fault.
That's all right.
I'll look at her and I'll be like, yes, I believe we have possible knowledge that could help one another, as well as, I believe that it would not be the worst idea ever to, build up a relationship between parties. And I don't believe we started on the wrong foot, so I would like to, change that if I can.
Well, you certainly gave me information that was interesting, although I'm not sure my dear sister would agree on how it came to be on the table. You really do have to be worried about people of power around you. You're fortunate my interest in your garden is not as invasive as some of the co-workers I've had. My interest is more in who are those people who can create an object that I can't understand. But my sister would have a point on this. You really have to be mindful of powerful people around you, especially when you talk about information like this.
I mean, I knew she was your family. I didn't assume that she would not have told you. Or if she had, I assume she would have at least mentioned it to me. But
Well, you see, audience, this is something you're gonna have to learn for yourself. And rather quickly if you want my sister to stop looking at you as if you were just her little brother.
Oof. Wait. Gotta get past that physical blow real quick. Alright, there we go.
Just after she says it, she does have a slight smirk on her face, just as if she knew that the impact of what she had just said.
Audience will move past the blow and be like, well, I'm not here to, talk about Ami Ali's perception of me. I'm more here to talk about yours.
And what do you think is my perception of you?
Not much. We haven't had much of a conversation yet, have we? I'm here to change that.
Very well. Then go right ahead. Change my perception of you.
I say, I'll kind of sit down.
Just as you're starting to look around, she's, please sit down. You can sit on the chair just behind you.
Oh, as I sit down, I'll casually pull out the orb. Watch her eyes as I do. The orb that the garden gave me.
Make a perception roll.
That's a 9, per usual. I always roll a 10 and get 9 every time. Look into my magic.
It might be because she's more seasoned than you at adventuring. Maybe she has a lot more experience dealing with powerful people. But she seemed unfazed by what you just did.
That's fine. I'll say, I know you have, to start, I know you have probably an interest in this object. I can give some information about it. Recently me and my party had a interesting experience with it that I'd be willing to share.
Which one are you thinking of? Which one is audience thinking of right now? Which experience?
the one where like we basically became light and then traveled, and also the one that we got like stuck in time for a little bit, and there was the creature and all of that, and basically.
So everything that happened after you use the orb to teleport yourself, basically.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So when you say the creature, you mean the creature that was inside of the roaming grove?
No, not the creature inside the roaming grove. The creature. I don't know if it was a creature, but basically the thing that felt like it was pulling us apart inside. But it was like math. Like it wasn't necessarily a creature.
Okay, so like... just the experience of traveling in this weird space.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Keep on going.
Okay. Well, I kind of stopped. I had said I was like, I could tell you about this experience if you're interested.
Oh, do tell. I am eager to see what is your perspective on this unique experience that you've lived.
Audience will give a quiet laugh and be like, unfortunately, probably not the only unique experience I've lived through, but, his minds go to darker things for a second. Then he snaps himself out of it.
Which are?
Well, he doesn't answer that, but
no.
He will.
I know.
The DM is asking you because she's reading your thoughts.
I know. But his brain will jump to his vision of holding the breastplate and seeing the creature that was filled with just for a second, and then it will kind of snap back.
Okay.
It'll flicker. It would probably flicker through a few things. It would probably flicker through a lot of his experiences. It would probably flicker through his experience with the time elf, with the with the recent heart in the grove. Briefly flicker to the creature before he kind of folds himself away from it. It would flicker through all these basically godly figures that audience has met in the last 3 weeks. Months, but yeah,
Okay, so basically, your mind went through.
Most of my past experiences with I'd say beings. I'd also probably include the one with the raccoon entity. Also include the. I'll probably include some of his own vision about the sun too. Briefly flicker to that as well. Of his own vision, because he'd include that in that whole thing.
Okay.
Probably flicker through all of those.
Okay. The only 2 things you haven't mentioned are your experience in the boat against the pirate and your fight inside of the burrow. With the
well, yeah, but those not really his fights, because he'd more jump to more of the larger scale things, the things that he wasn't really in, or he didn't feel like he was in control of, the pirate situation and the burrow. He felt much more in control of in his mind than some of these other things.
Okay. Well, in the burrow there was the goblin who weirdly became more, and there was the cloth.
The cloth, I don't think he would actually jump to, because that doesn't really trigger that much in his mind.
Okay, so I have a good idea of everything that went through your mind. Mm-hmm. Okay.
So, but just for what I say out loud, I will basically explain to her the experience of traveling through the orb, the turning into the light, how the speed at which we've traveled at, then the being pulled out of the stream or being almost pulled apart, and then finally re-entering and having been in such a different location with so much time having passed.
Okay.
I'll basically explain that situation to her in detail.
Okay. She listens at you very intently. Although you do have the impression that a lot of these, a lot of these things aren't unknown to her. You're not sure if she's lived through them, unless you want to try and go with a insight roll.
I mean, I would go with an insight.
Okay.
I would probably be insight as I was talking to her, because I would be trying to judge her reactions. 10.
Okay. A lot of these things, you have the feeling that she might not have lived them personally, but they're not unknown to her. You do have the sense that she has an idea of what you're talking about. Especially this large thing that was between space, what it could be. She really doesn't seem to react at all to it. She seems to have slight reaction to your wandering thoughts, however, when you take a moment and you think about something and then, inside of your mind there was this brief moment where you went back to this really bad experience with the creature that you don't know what it is, but it feels like so powerful, and were told that it could destroy your world if it had actually noticed you. And then you go back to what you were thinking about, as all of this relates to darkness and all, and you get a feeling that that is more interesting to her than your experience between you.
I wouldn't actually be able to probably judge that, because I don't know that she can. I mean, I assume she can somewhat sense things, but I don't know how well she can read my thoughts.
No, exactly. But because you've started to, the moment you entered, you did something to try and distract yourself, as if she could read some of it. You are aware that she has a way to at least know your surface thoughts.
No, I understand the diviner field as a paladin. I understand that if she's a very powerful diviner, she can pretty much, figure out at least a...
So basically, what you notice with a 10 is not a lot. It's really hard to determine what she knows and what she doesn't know. But you do realize that she does sometimes have a reaction to pauses that you take, and you have this image of something that you're thinking about that just slams in your head, and then you just manage to brush it off and just keep on talking.
All right, I come to the end. I'll kind of wait for a response from her.
Well, she just looks at you and says, well, what do you think is all of this? I'm very much interested in a less experienced point of view.
Fair enough. Audience will think, and I'll be like, to be honest, I think that from all I've seen, I mean, I've seen more in the past couple months than I'd say probably most people see in their lives. We seem to be going through from what I've talked about with the Pixies, with a couple others, we just seem to be going through a time of change in our world, a time of definite danger, but also a time of destiny. And more and more, as I see more in events, I feel that the garden, if not me personally, although audience will think to himself, me personally, but he won't say that out loud, are somewhat involved in that destiny and in that time. And I think that certain things will probably change during these next coming years quite a bit, and it would be good to have allies in different areas, especially those that could, perhaps be involved.
I see. And Well, I am touched that you've thought about me as a potential allies in everything that is going on. And I'm pretty sure that this is going to annoy my sister a lot. But, yes, while it is a little bit presumptuous to make this assumption that you've seen more than most, it is the nature of adventuring. It is the nature of those who give themselves to the wonders of the world. Some are horrible, some are incredible. And yes, of course you've seen some things which not a lot of people have. From your description, from your point of view, you are talking about seeing where all of this energy comes from. What people refer to as shards. That is most likely what you saw when you were between world. You were feeling the pull of a shard. Some of them can be quite small, but some of them can be enormous. The same size as a world. And also, maybe you should think very thoroughly about what you want to share with others. Because if I had bad intentions toward your garden, you have just revealed to me how to get there. Maybe you should avoid this in front of more malevolent, powerful people.
I'll give a small smile. Say, I'm not so new as to know that by coming, once I learned you were a diviner, that I would not be revealing some things, but I decided to, through faith in your sister, have some trust in you. So I would not do that with everyone.
Yes, well, some of the things that can feel inconspicuous can actually reveal a lot. Like you revealing that you're being hurled through space and going toward a single point. I wouldn't talk about this with just anyone. You are aware of how the world is made?
Yes, I am.
She has this little smile when you say this. Yes, maybe not this part. There are things in between layers of reality. Shards are one, throwing their energy toward one another, creating these small realms. But what you have inside your head and what you just told me was a very good way in how someone could use this as a map to find where your garden is outside of this realm. I know, you trust me in some ways. But really be careful.
I'll give a quiet laugh. I'm like, I also don't think everyone I meet is a diviner. But
Well, that is true. I mean, not everyone is good at the same thing. You just look at how wizardry is divided. You find a lot of extroverted people, mostly men, in the evocation and conjuring sphere, but divining and enchanting is more reserved to the feminine gender. So do be careful. By that I mean you have specific weaknesses that would made it easier for some people to just pry things you didn't want to share. Especially when they are more proficient in attracting your attention.
I'll just give a small smile. Won't say anything.
Well, that is a very interesting story. A very interesting mix of many things. And I'd say you do need to be careful about things that you take for granted.
I just have a quiet laugh. I'm like, you're not the first person to tell me that.
Well, maybe it's because you're not quite there yet. Be careful. A lot of people will try and mold your vision of the world to their image, and there is nothing that is more dangerous than lacking the knowledge to know that there is more than what is readily given to you by someone who says they want to help you. Have an open mind, always. I can easily see in your future that your conception of the world will be challenged more than once. She closes her eyes and opens them, looks at you again, and I would find a nice place to rest tonight.
Thank you for the knowledge.
Just don't take it for granted. There is always place to learn by yourself. Even mine.
I will get up to leave.
Oh, I didn't mean you needed to leave now, but hey, if this is where you feel the conversation should end, then very well.
I give a smile. Well, I do believe I have a busy day tomorrow, and as much as I enjoy speaking with you, I feel that my party would be upset with me if I was not my sharpest tomorrow as we entered a arcane dungeon.
You hear Bob go, yeah, sharpest. She turns toward Bob and be nice to the guest. Yeah, sorry. Well, in that case, maybe we'll see each other again.
Maybe.
I don't know if you have among your friends people who can actually send me a message should you ever need more information that is provided to you by your friends.
I honestly don't know either. I think maybe Remy can. I don't even know. I don't know that much about my party's arcane abilities, to be honest.
Yes. Well, in that case, if you want to keep a possibility to reach me alive, I believe there is something you can do, isn't there? And she looks at the orb that you still have in your hand.
I give her a smile. I'm like, I may trust you, but we are still not at that point in our relationship. I'll pick up the orb and slip it back in my pocket.
She just laughs.
After all, you did tell me to be careful.
She just laughs at this and, well, there might be hope for you yet. All right, then. Fear not. Our paths will most likely cross again. After all, I do have to take care of some mess that you've left behind. This might not actually be the last one.
We'll see.
Well, be careful and have a restful night. Oh, holy night.
Thank you. And you as well. An audience will leave feeling somewhat satisfied that he at least started a potential alliance, if not, he got somewhere. He feels like he somewhat changed the perception. He did what he wanted, although there was risk involved, and some might not agree with what he did. But he'll worry about that later.
Yeah, for some reason you have a feeling that maybe there are a few party members that if you tell everything that happened might look at you funny in the morning.
Listen, what happens in the Bardo stays in the Bardo.
So you leave the Vardo, and the moment that you close the door, you sort of feel this tether inside of your mind just retract and whew. Okay. So that's how it feels when a spell reaches through your mind.
I will remember that knowledge. I will memorize that. I'll try and memorize the feeling at least. So if it ever happens again, I will at least be aware of it.
All right. So, where do you go to spend the rest of the night?
The inn they told me to go to, which because it was last week, I don't remember what they actually said, but
Actually,
they did tell me a place. I think that they were going.
Actually, I think they decided as they were walking towards some place. So nothing was discussed.
We told you to meet us at the gate in the morning.
Oh, did you? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, audience will go then find an inn and not worry about it.
All right. So, in what part of the city are you going?
I'd probably go up to the middle section. Probably go up to the...
Okay, so basically where...
mid-tier.
Where you had this really weird night inside of a sliver of a nightmare realm. You go back to that inn?
Well, wasn't that in Korra? That wasn't in here, was it?
Yeah, it was in... no, that's right. It was a...
No,
it was
no.
another city. All right, so no, that's right. You've never been in any inn in the commercial district.
No. So I'll just go to just what seems like a decent commercial inn.
Okay.
Get a room.
Yeah, no, that's fairly easy to do.
Get probably my standard mid-tier room, so 5 silver, I think.
I believe it's something like that. Yeah. 5 silver, yeah.
Yeah.
It's one of the largest city on the island of Estrin, so it's fairly easy to do. Find a place, you get there fairly late, almost midnight, so they do keep someone to keep watch, and as you enter, they just let you in, and room, that's no problem. Do you want a meal included with that?
No, I'll just eat one of my rations.
Okay.
I feel like I should go to bed. I shouldn't spend the time to
Okay.
get a meal.
All right. So you go to bed.
Unless the meal's included, but...
No. The I checked just to be sure. In the player's handbook, when they say the living expense for someone of a specific tier, they simply add the in per day to the meal per day price.
Oh,
So you go to bed and you fall asleep. Well, actually, it's a bit weirder than usual. Because as you're sitting there, thinking about everything that's been going on, you're just preparing yourself and putting your equipment just beside your bed, placing the shield at the bottom of the bed, get in bed, start thinking. You look around and think about everything that happened. Then you feel the night just slowly starting to get in, but you shake it off and you look and, well, you have a book on your lap. For the moment, it feels like it's supposed to be there. So, for you, Sam, you're inside a dream. You're dreaming right now. You did fall asleep and you're at a table and you're looking at this book. And you've seen books like this. There are books with pictures and different explanation and depiction of fighting styles. Things you can do. And as you look through these images, you start flipping the pages, and just for fun, you take the book and just flip all the page rapidly, and you see all of these stances going, and you start seeing the persons on the page starting to move and fight, and it just feels like it's coming alive. The ink just seems to have a mind of its own, and you see the two-person fighting. And then for a moment it feels like, no, it's not two characters on a page is fighting. I'm one of those characters. I'm the one on the left.
let's go drawing on the left.
And you look at him, and he's fighting against this other Dragonborn. And this is when you sort of recognize, okay, this is a sparring arena. And I can see the people around it, and they're all cheering, and two very skilled fighter. But you slowly realize that, you're slightly better. You start seeing holes in the defense of the other person, and just as you think, I recognize this, just hook down, and you see the image just hook down and grab the sword under it, push the enemy, shove it away, just pulls back a little. Then there's this moment where you see him raise his sword really high, and he's just telling me exactly what he's gonna do. He's gonna try and swing at me directly right in the center. So you just have to make one step to the side, and you see the sword fall. You take advantage of that. You hook his hand holding the sword with your own pommel. You take the upper part of your sword and you slide it toward his neck, just so that should be a killing blow. But he realized this at the last moment and tries to push away. And you see him losing balance. And slowly the image freezes as you see his silhouette just freeze in place mid-fall. You see this medallion similar to your own floating in midair. Holy symbol, but of a different type. And then you look at this image and there are different things you can do. But just as you think about this, you feel a few different feeling, and your voice is coming with those feeling. The first one feels a bit dark, as if it came from the shadows of things around you. You hear it say, "He dared challenge you, and he lost. Make him pay. Thrust your sword forward right into his heart. Let him die."
Do it. Do it now.
The second voice, you have the feeling of a head going up and looking at you. A bit of a snaky way, the way that it's doing this. But the voice is a bit familiar. Although it feels a little bit more distant, it sounds like your god saying, "You shouldn't waste this. He has potential. Strike upward, hook his medallion, tear it out from him, and show him the real way. Offer him yours. Make him one of us." You hear a third voice. This one, old and stern. Great warmth. You hear its voice say, "He fought valiantly with honor. Let him fall to the ground and help him up. He has earned your respect, just as you has earned his. Let him live." And then there is a moment there where you know you have to choose which voice you follow.
Well, it's definitely not the first one, but what would audience do at this point?
One tells you to break him and remake him into one of your own. The other one tells you to respect an opponent who has fought with honor and valiance.
I'm having to kind of think of the teachings. Right now, audience is torn between the teachings of his, or like following what he thinks is right for his faith versus his kind of childhood teachings of what his father has told him and what he personally believes himself. Because as a paladin, it is like he's always believed in, like, you know, helping up, being like the guy to, you know,
And it is,
earn the respect of
it
someone
is also
in a
the
fight.
Dragonborn way.
It is just, so it's like almost his childhood teachings versus his desire to please his god. I'm trying to think which would win at this point. And I have to say, I think with some of the doubt that's been cast, and also just what audience has always done is feels right thing, also probably a slight gut feeling, I think I would go with the third option and not the second option. Although it'd be very close.
So you hesitate for a moment, but then you choose to respect the warrior who has fought valiantly. And you see the image unfreeze. You see the person holding your sword just taking off his one hand from the sword, letting the other person fall, and then helping back up. And you feel this energy from inside of you. There is a sense of warmth and of being welcomed. And as you make this decision, you feel as if you were breathing the air, the fresh morning air of the mountains. And as you just wake up from this, there's something inside of you that just tells you someone was listening to that choice.
Audience will spend probably a moment in prayer after he wakes up.
All right. So, as audience think about his faith and all of that happened and the dream that he just had, Fisher, your night is mostly uneventful as you are spending 5 straight hours just watching Tery watching you. It's only at the 5th hour that something happens that is slightly weird. Tery's still just watching you, and then suddenly stop watching you for a while, for just a moment, and you see him just grow a little bigger, and then going back, and again, again. And you hear this strange little gurgly noise coming from inside of his stomach. With your passive insight, you've seen this behavior on humans right before they're about to, and when you think that, you see Tery go, and you just see this weird liquid that pours out of what you think is his head. It just opens slightly and just pours out and pulls on the table. And this smells so bad, like something died and's been rotting for a week straight in its own juice. You see Tery just after that, just having a few moments where he seemed to be shaking, having small convulsions, and after maybe 1 or 2 minutes, he starts stabilizing, and he looks at you for a moment, looks at this, and now this starts attracting his attention. He just looks at it. You see him just dab the tip of what you believe is the front of his head in it. But just as he touches it, you see just recoil. He stares at it for a good hour, unless you want to do something about this.
I do. Trying to look to see if I have anything.
After a few minutes, you do have someone that comes out of his room. What smells like that? Oh! And then he sees the two of you looking at him, probably. Tery just looking at the guy that just came out, and you looking at him, and he looks at the both of you. Never mind. I'll make do with what is. And he goes back to his room.
I am going to take a little bit of like a sheet of paper.
Okay.
And scoop/soak up a little bit of what he spat out.
Okay.
And then wrap it up and put it away.
As you do this, and the reaction Tery has, although he doesn't have a face, he looks at you doing this, and you've seen people look at other people like this, and it usually comes with someone saying, "What the heck?" He just lets you do it. And you do realize, when you do this, you do realize that it's slightly warm. And the page that you use, you do have to use two folds. You have to take one and fold it in several, because the first moment that you touch it, the first two layer of pages are burned right through. It just slowly eats at it, and
Oh, like an acid.
a very mild acid, but still an acid. But after a few moments, it just stops sizzling, and you don't know if it's because it loses its highly acidic properties very fast, or if the page was enough to neutralize the acidic nature of it.
Interesting. I will take out another piece of paper and jot down some notes
Okay.
about it.
So you take a few moments, you write down these notes. This does not cause you to break your sleep, don't worry. It's very light activity. Although for Tery, that might have been more traumatic than for you. And
Does he seem fine now?
he seems a bit better, but, you know, he has the demeanor of someone who just emptied the content of his stomach.
Mm-hmm.
Against his will.
Yeah. Do I have any fruit left?
Well, that would be in your inventory.
Yeah. Well, I guess he didn't eat all of it, so I'll dump out what is now probably kind of gross, because what he didn't finish of the smoothie I made,
Yeah.
but a very small amount.
Okay. So, yeah, you just take a little bit out. I'd say probably the easiest way for you to do this, if you don't want to go somewhere and take another mug, would be to just put your hand on one on the top of the mug and just try and filter out whatever juice is left inside of Terry's box. That's the only other container you have.
Yep.
Just put him inside the box and let him drink.
Mm-hmm.
That's easy enough to do, and he does, after a moment, just goes to where the liquid is and just absorb it. Sort of like this, someone who's just lost a lot of liquid and just looks at you and go, oh. That's a bit of the demeanor that he has. And then after half an hour, he goes back to looking at you. And the staring contest just keeps on going throughout the night.
That's interesting.
Judging, well, I'd say, oh, well, that could be interesting. Make a medicine roll.
Hey, 17.
Wow. You are invested in learning more about Tery. So, judging from
later.
Judging from what came out, the smell it has, the viscosity of it, because you are less afraid than others to just put your finger inside of vomit. You'd say that it is most likely bile, and from the scent of it, he didn't like the blood. The blood of the meat.
Okay. Okay.
Or at least he
That is
didn't
good to
stomach
know.
it.
It was the meat that made him throw up and not the fruit, basically.
You'd say that, yeah. Because of the smell, it sort of has a rotten meat scent.
Right.
You did give him really old meat. So maybe he can't digest it, or maybe he really needs really fresh meat, if that's what he needs.
Okay. Wait, was it? I thought it was just raw.
You told me that you gave him 2 cube. One was raw, but really old. It was leftover. And one
Okay.
was cooked.
Yeah.
He went...
I didn't realize it was old. But, okay. Good to know.
It was left over from the day's cooking. A piece of raw meat that was most likely cut and taken out of cold storage several hours earlier.
Okay. Yeah, I'll just kind of jot some notes down about
Okay.
it that I plan on showing people later.
All right. Well, other than that, I'd say the rest of the night goes pretty smoothly. Remy, you have a restful night. Jorg, as soon as the day starts, you make your prayer to change your spell loadout. And prayer seems to go well. You do feel as if you've been infused with different energies, and the capability to shape it in a different way has taken hold. So your prayers did change your spell list without any problems. However, it's the time to take our break. So we'll take our break, and as soon as we come back, we're going to get to what happens in the morning. So, for those of you still listening, we hope you're still listening. Time to take a break. Go get something to eat, something to drink, empty your bladder, and why not hit follow when you're coming back? Because, hey, we're at 45 people. Only 5 people missing, and we can activate subscription. So, hey, help us out. So, we'll see you right after the break. Bye. Sorry. Welcome back, everyone. So, I hope you had a good break. You emptied your bladder, took something to eat, and hit follow if you're not actually following us. I know I'm annoying with it because I really just want to get to my 50 followers. So, let's keep going. So, the party wakes up. Not everyone in the same place, but refreshed, thinking about the night. For some weird, for some thought-provoking, and for some just relaxing. You all wake up in the morning, everything seems to be fine. Jorg and Remy, you leave the room and find Fisher and Tery still in their staring contest. Although there is something that did change a bit. Tery is in his box right now, but the lid isn't closed. Other than that, they seem to not really have moved since you went to bed. An audience, well, just because you went to bed a little bit later on, it's going to take just a few more moments before you actually wake up, but, it's, Fisher, as usual, was really vague with you. Meet us at the gate in the morning. 9, it's, you know.
If I remember correctly, I said, I think, well, which... I remember I asked which direction we were leaving the city to go to the mountains, and then said that gate.
Yeah. So at least it's gonna be the right gate. At roughly the right time.
Yeah.
I mean, eventually they'll remember how else they could be coordinating.
Eventually, one day, hopefully.
And then I would like to switch Terranad help to Arcana from Perception.
Okay.
And then is in this world, is there like a language which is more like, I know in like some D&D stuff, like Draconic is like what a lot of like magic stuff is like based in. Is that similar, or
well,
is that just not a thing?
I'd say yes and no. So here how it is. Yes, dragons have taken a greater place in this world than in other worlds. But it's not necessarily associated with magic. However, if you were to go into a dragonborn laboratory, that would be a very useful thing to have. But you're going to a gnomish laboratory.
I don't have a gnomish.
No, I know. But in this world, I'd argue that, well, you've just learned, well, from Fisher's perspective, it's been a month, 2 months, learned that there actually is a language for construct that you were unaware of. And there's the Draconic. And those two should have a very, very big place in the world, because one of the three largest school of magic in the world is in the Dragonborn capital, where you mostly made all of your own learning. So it is prominent, like Elven and Common.
Mm-hmm. All right. Yeah, and then I think, I switch the language to construct.
Okay.
Just in case. Bob's gonna talk to me and then be like, "What, dude? What?"
What do you mean?
All right. Yeah. So that's that.
All right. Hold on. As you ask him to make the change throughout the night, he changed the configuration of crystals inside of him. And in the morning, you do feel like your knowledge is shifting toward your new preference for this moment. And you hear just staring at inside you go, well, maybe this time it'll be more useful. Can't say you all have very good track records of being useful. I mean, I'll be fair. The add-ons you have to work with aren't that good. And you have your own limitations. But still, I mean, in the last one, there was something missing.
What are you talking about? What do you need us to be useful for?
Well,
you're the one that's supposed to be useful.
Well, I am very useful. The problem is I'm stuck using your resources.
I'm a whole new resource. You don't know how useful I am.
It's fair enough. Well, Yeah. Okay.
No, it's not easy helping you perceive things when you have blind spot while you're walking. You know, you
Well,
just
we'll try. We're trying something new.
yeah. That's why I say maybe this time it'll be more helpful. Maybe you'll have less blind spot in your perception organs.
You can't just say, "Look at that," and then like it's not like you can point.
Well, like I said, it's hard. I have to work with very limited tools. Do you know how weird it is to work with something that just has a blind spot that pops up? You're walking and suddenly I can't see anything behind your elbow in a cone? Like that! The way you are right now!
Oh, I'm sorry. Is this bothering you?
See, now you move. Now I can see, but now I just lost everything below your knees.
You know what? Maybe I'll just friggin' I swing my backpack around so it's
No,
over
that's
the
good.
front.
Now I can see your feet.
And so it's just like instead of on my back, it's on my front. And how's that? Does that help?
For now, you know, I don't know what's moving inside of you, but there are these blind spots that keeps appearing. It's annoying as heck.
Wait, then what do you even see out of?
Myself.
Huh.
I told you I have a lattice of crystals inside of me. I reorganize them. I change the flow of energy in it, and that's what allows me to have some knowledge favored over another. And I have to work with this power limitation all the time. This is why I keep having to select things.
Hey, calm down. I'm working on it, okay?
But work faster. It's frustrating.
It's frustrating for me too, because when you're frustrated, I have to hear about it.
That's good. At least now you know how I feel. Come on, let's go.
I always know how you feel. You're very vocal about it.
No, I don't have a vocal cord. Come on, let's go. Stop wasting time.
I will, gather Tery up in the box
Close the box.
that now has a bunch of holes in it so he can breathe.
Yeah.
And close the box. So you guys ready to go? They came out of their rooms, right?
Probably. There's a good chance that Jorg
Yeah, Remy was just
Remy heard
standing
that.
there, like watching you have your conversation.
Yeah.
For Jorg, it's probably still a bit weird hearing one half of the conversation. But Remy, you're starting to get used to it, you know.
Probably start making guesses about what the other half is saying.
Mm-hmm.
Just memorizing everything, trying to. All right, let's make a bet on it. What do you think he actually said? You know, like that episode of Doctor Who with the first time that the weeping angels appear.
Oh.
All the episode, you have only the doctor's side of the conversation. It's only at the end of the episode that you realize, oh, that's the other side of the conversation. It feels a bit like that when you're listening to Fisher argue with Taranab.
It's like when you overhear someone arguing in public on their phone.
Or with the when they have just an earring, not necessarily a phone because you can see that, but just the ear.
earpiece.
You just hear them go, no, come on, I have to get. All right, so you all make your way to the first floor. Unless there is something that you want to take care of, you want to try before going down.
Oh, George, you said you might be able to talk to Tery?
Oh yeah, I might be able to. It'll take a bit, but
I think we've got a bit.
yeah, we can
Well, how long is a bit?
about 10 minutes.
Okay,
It's
yeah, that should be good.
a ritual.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right, so you sit down
yeah.
and you start this ritual. Although Fisher, you can't really do rituals. You are aware of how they work, so you know that. Okay, he's ritual casting. Remy, well, fortunately for you, you know what a ritual casting is because you can ritual cast. So okay, he's doing a ritual. Long way of doing the spell. After 10 minutes, finish reciting the prayer, and then you feel the magic taking hold. Now, the moment of truth.
Oh, I'll open the box.
Oh yeah, that's the thing.
That's always useful. As
All
always, Tery seems to be looking at Fisher.
Hey Tery, can you understand me?
He looks at you for a moment. He doesn't react any more than that.
Tery, I am a druid, and my name is Jorg. We're sorry for locking you in the box. Do you want something to eat?
There's a moment of silence, and then he goes back to looking at Fisher.
I don't think he knows what I'm saying.
Seeing as though this is a first level spell and you are slightly used to using it, as most likely one of the first spells you've tried in your life, you'd say that this feels a bit like when you had the brilliant idea of trying to cast Speak with Animal on a human that was speaking a language that you didn't know. And you argued that, well, humans are kind of animals. So basically, wrong type of creature.
Yeah, I think I need a different language or a spell to speak with this whatever it is.
But you know it's not a beast.
Yeah,
It's not an animal.
yeah,
That's
not
interesting.
almost more sinister now.
Jorg, make a nature check.
Nature check.
Oh, yeah.
Ooh, 18.
18. Oh, that's not bad. So, looking at him and his anatomy, as far as you can deduce, it narrows the possibility a little bit. If he's not a beast, there is a possibility that he is some sort of elemental creature. A very slight chance that he might have something in common with draconic beings, but it's a very slight chance. Other than that, the two categories of being that would fit from what you can see are monstrosity and aberrations.
All right. I want to try to touch him.
How do you do this?
Gently reach into the box, and I assume the one end that's pointing
What are you doing?
Fisher. I want to connect with it in another way.
What do you mean?
Maybe I can show I'm friendly by a friendly pat. on the head.
Okay. If it bites you, it's not my fault.
I want to know more about this strange being.
All right. So how do you do this?
A finger
Okay.
just onto the part of it that's looking at Fisher. I assume is the head.
Okay. So, Remy, are you looking at this?
I mean, all he can do is look.
Okay. No, that's why I said, are you trying? No, I just said, are you looking at this? But what I meant is, are you paying attention to what is going on?
I mean, right now it's the most interesting thing in the room, and it's not like he has a book to read.
Oh. So you slowly reach for Tery, and then for a moment you see Tery look at your finger, and then he looks at you, Fisher, and he sort of cocks his head a little bit. You know, you've seen this behavior in dogs. Usually it's what the moment that they have. And then he looks at you and he lets you get very close, but just as you're about to touch him, he sort of recoils slightly and slightly. He sort of becomes a bit smaller.
I'll pull the box away.
Yeah, I'm not gonna push it. I'll pull my hand away too.
Remy, there is one thing with your stupid high insight for a low-level character, I mean.
Oh, don't worry, it'll get worse. But go on.
It does feel like he reacted. He didn't react as much to George trying to touch him as he did to you trying to touch him. When you tried to touch him, the moment that your finger pointed in his direction, he sort of recoiled a bit and just really didn't let you get close. Maybe it's personal, but maybe there's a difference there in the way that he perceived things.
He's a worm-like creature, and there was a bird coming after him with its talons.
That's what I was gonna say.
Well, I'm going to... Yeah, I guess I'll close the box again.
Mm-hmm. Close the box.
By Tery.
Yeah. Oh. I'll probably bring him back out once we're traveling.
All right. Yeah, you do have maybe, I don't know, look at the map.
We got like half a day or something, right?
Yeah, half to 2/3 of a day, something like that. So this is Christmas. Hold on. I can't see my traveling chart. All right, so this is there. Yeah, you have half a day of travel to get to the last village on the map before getting there, and then according to what they said, maybe a quarter of a day to get to the mountains and to the entrance of this. So if you go in a straight line, you could be there at 3/4 of a day. You could sleep right at the entrance of the laboratory, or try and finish this before you have to go to sleep. Or you can stop at the village, completely rest, and then in the morning, go there.
Right. Yeah. You guys ready to go?
I'm ready to go.
All right. So, well, it's too bad. I think audience is having a little bit of a room difficulty.
Roommate issue, maybe.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. So as we head downstairs, I will put the mug back, or give the mug back.
With now really stale fruit pulp in it.
Yeah.
All right.
And I'll put 2 copper pieces next to it
Okay.
as we leave.
You put the mug on the table. You put the 2 copper pieces on the table. Just as you're about to leave, you do see someone that is working there, taking the mug and the 2 pieces, not just a random person.
Fair enough. Yeah. And then I guess we head out to the gate, right?
Yeah.
Unless y'all have anything.
Audience.
So as
I don't
you
have anything to do.
Yeah. As you leave this place and look around, you know that Iselina works just a few building further down the road. But as you are leaving, you look around and you hear this voice, this cold metallic voice, one that is familiar. At least to you, Fisher, and a bit Raimi. The voice of Civ. Well, it looks like you've survived your travels.
Oh, hey. Yeah.
You turn around and you look at... Yeah, hey. Hello?
Is he not?
He's not on the ground floor. Remy, because of your stupid high passive perception, you are able to notice that he is on the top of a single-story building, probably the house of a person, and he's just sitting there cross-legged, looking at you walking in front of him. Still wearing his cloak. His hood is down, so you can see, as always, his face, because he's a construct. You're not sure if it's incorporated into him, or if his face is made to look like this, but his face looks like the helm of a knight. So
I rolled an
maybe
18
just like-
perception. Does that...
You rolled a
Is
what?
that good enough? 18 on my perception.
Yeah, that's
check.
good enough. So it takes a moment. Remy does see him first because it's passive perception for him, but for you, you just look around and eventually you notice Remy just looking up and then, there you are.
Doing some sightseeing up there.
Well, I was on my way to the floating library and I noticed you entering the inn last night. I didn't want to disturb any of you.
So you've just been sitting out here all night waiting?
No, I know that most of you need at least 8 hours of rest. I came back after 7.5 hours.
Fair enough. Yeah. It's actually not been quite as long for us as it has for you, seeing as, or at least you probably saw our other friend teleport out. Apparently that brought us with it. some.
Well, perception is a tricky. Sorry, perception is a tricky thing.
Yep. Basically, something went wrong, and we landed a ways away,
That would
almost
explain.
dead.
That would
A
explain.
couple weeks later.
Yeah. That would explain why you left your cart there and someone else had to come in. Sorry, I was just looking at message. Someone else had to come and get it. So I hoped it wasn't because your entire group has perished underwater. That is a most unfortunate and, as I've heard, unpleasant way of dying. Not that it is a way that we can relate to now, isn't it?
Nope. But I've seen it, and it doesn't look fun. So, yeah. How'd you end up getting out?
In the most direct of ways. I simply went through everything. It's easier for me to go unnoticed. It is, or rather it was a requirement from where I'm from. Oh, I'd imagine it would have been one for you also, at one point.
Probably. Maybe. I don't know.
Although judging from your insignia, maybe not. Maybe you'd never had to be very discreet.
Sorry, what? Wait, no. We already did this one.
Yeah, you talked
Why
a
you
bit.
gotta bring it up like that? Unless you've found out something new since we first met.
Well, not new. Information about... And you do detect in his voice, not in his appearance, because, like I said, being a construct, he's not very expressive, and he has this air of being very calm and serene all the time. But you're used to hearing construct talk, and so this is, for you, it's a little bit easier for you to analyze. And you do feel this little uneasiness mixed in his voice when the conversation seems to be going toward where you both were a long time ago. You don't know why, but he does seem to know why. Just doesn't seem to want to talk about it.
Am I getting the sense that this is a physical place, or this is a state of being we were both previously at that he doesn't want to talk about?
Make an intelligence roll.
Intelligence?
Yeah.
14.
14. From everything you gathered, and the way he talks, and the way that he seems to know a little bit about you, no, you don't think he's talking metaphorically speaking. You think he's really talking about a physical point of origin. Meaning he might know where you came from. but he seems uncomfortable talking about it.
Mhm. How's the research going? I know we've been looking into some stuff at the library.
He looks at your friends, and
Oh,
are you
this
in?
guy's new. His name is Jorg. We picked him up pretty recently in a different time thing that ended up putting us on the opposite side of the earth when we came out of it.
Yes, well, this is a side effect of adventuring, I suppose. Well, you will definitely be in for some interesting times with them. Jorg, isn't it?
Oh, Jorg, this is Civ.
Hey, you're another construct.
Well, yes, how insightful. Yes. And you look to be someone who has less of an inclination toward considering us as being more.
I do
Exactly.
not doubt that you are sentient in some way, but it is hard to understand something constructed having a soul.
Wait, what? Nah,
Or-
I kind of figured it out. I'll talk to you about it. one
Okay.
moment.
I'm not going to get into any metaphysical or spiritual things. I believe you are just as sentient as me, and I hope I didn't offend you.
Yes.
Also, you look kind of scared me when you snuck up on us like that. Just, yeah.
Well, I guess this is a conversation better left to when you are not in the middle of something. As you seem to be in a bit of a hurry and with new companions. And I think the last member of your group is arriving. He turns around and looks in the rough direction of the gate where you wanted to go, and you do see at the end of the street a confident audience walking just in front of the street toward the gate. I hope you don't mind that I just decided that you went from your bed to the gate.
I mean, that's what I wrote. That's what I wrote in chat.
Okay.
That's what I wanted to. So.
Yeah. Well, it seems he has relieved himself of the shirt he got. That was rather fast. Yeah, we're about to go check out a old abandoned arcane laboratory. Should be interesting. But yeah, there's we should sit down and talk next time.
Unless you take another
When
shortcut.
I've got some time.
Unless you take another shortcut through time and space, I will most likely be here for another few weeks. There are things which needs to be researched and questions which needs answering.
Speaking of which, I know you have Krill. Is that Is that what you call them?
Yes.
How did you find them?
He was given to me
Okay.
when I awoke.
So then I'll pull out the box. Because this is Tery, and I drank a potion, and it came out of me.
How intriguing. He just makes one hand motion as if he was, as if he was taking something that had been wrapped on the underside of his arm, and you just see krill gather up in his hand and become a shape. It looks like a 2-year-old drawing of a dog. You know, it's not very precise. You do recognize that it sort of has 4-leg shape and some thing that makes for the head.
Abstract
Yeah,
idea of a creature.
But his looks blue, a very clear blue, and clearly made out of crystals. It actually looks like living crystals. When it moves, it doesn't move like liquid. It feels like the crystal grows in a direction and then retracts from behind, but in a very, very rapid motion. So it's very fluid in the way that it moves, but also a bit weird as it's really just a... As if you were watching quartz crystal grow and ungrow in half a second.
Not the same thing, then.
Well, I would imagine not. But if it is, simply a different type of creature, you might be in for a surprise. And he just lets him get back inside of him, and you just see him grow and ungrow himself between the small spaces where armor would fit. Well, you know where your plates are supposed to be. He just reabsorbs inside of him, and for a moment you just see also these blue lines that appear as he come inside, but by the time that the blue lines go maybe up to his elbow, it just completely absorbs into him and disappears.
Well done. I'm assuming to probably be able to find you at the floating library.
Well, yes. That is a interesting place where you can find me. Although for some reason, Isalina always seems to know where I am. So there is always that option.
It's kind of weird. Oh,
well, she is a
makes
special
it easier
one.
for me.
Let's just say that it is obvious she has mixed origin.
Well, it was good to see you. Definitely be stopping by sometime soon, probably. Could possibly have a little chat about
Yes, of course. And as
where we're
always,
from.
bring your friends. As long as their mind are opened enough.
I'll work on him. And then I will wave and turn around.
He gives
Certainly.
he gives a bow to you, then to you, Remy, and although a little reluctantly to you, Jorg, and he just
I'll
jumps.
bow back.
He just jumps away, and it is clear when you see this, he has a really good jumping capability because he seems to be doing a standing jump of at least 30 feet.
Shit.
He just In audience,
As
you're
we're
barely aware of this, but as you're walking, there's a moment where you hear the... Oh, hey, everyone's coming. Oh.
Some low-flying birds today.
Yeah, black bird.
I'm gonna ask Tery if he would rather be in the box or somewhere on me, and look for any sort of visible reaction.
Okay. Make a charisma roll for me, please.
Okay. I'm rolling decent to... Nope. Okay. 6.
There we go. We have Fisher back.
I was like, I rolled pretty good tonight. Oh, there it is.
You look at him and you talk to him, and it feels... Make an insight roll for me, please.
Also something I'm
Yeah.
very good at. 2.
Oh, goodness. He's really hard to read, you know? It's just in the way that he is.
Featureless.
Yeah, and then there's nothing,
Blob.
and he just looks at you, and you get the feeling that you're not sure if he's trying to talk to you in some way, or if he's not understanding you talking to him. But you're really gonna have to go with your guts for your answer. I tried to give you as much chance as possible.
Yeah,
Sorry.
no, that's right up. I rolled a 3 minus 1, so... Right. No.
Audience, you do see your friends arriving in the street. You notice that Fisher seems to be talking to an open box, which you've seen him put Tery in before, so it might be that. Seem to be walking in your directions.
I'll wave at them. Be like, hey guys.
Wow. Look at us. Actually, rather quickly, meeting up where we said we'd be without wandering around for hours in the morning before leaving.
Did anyone have any interesting dreams last night?
No.
That was mostly directed at the other two.
I didn't sleep. Did you have one?
I had a dream that felt like more than just a dream, but maybe it was just for... It felt personal, but I was just wondering if any of you guys had had any interesting dreams.
No. Huh.
So I know we've had shared dreams in the past, but...
I haven't slept in a bit, but... Oh, maybe. Rami, what about you?
You hear Taranad just say, oh, maybe it's time you should. Just saying.
Like, go the fuck to sleep.
Wouldn't you like that?
And so from your perspective, George, you see Fisher say, about you, Remy, wouldn't you like that? It's still weird.
Rami, any dreams that you want to share?
Just kind of like looks in audience's direction for a moment and then shakes his head.
All right. Well then, anything else before we head out?
I was able to have a conversation with Antasia, and I think I at least got our party somewhat on better terms with her. Although, in the future, if any of you do have a conversation with her, I would be careful. She's a very powerful diviner and can pretty much read your thoughts while you talk to her. I don't know about you, Fisher, but for the rest of you.
Oh, that's unsettling.
But anyway, I think I at least got us in somewhat better standing with her. So,
You trust her, though, right?
I mean, I pretty much have to at this point. But yes, I do somewhat. I do trust her.
Okay. Because it didn't seem like her sister did.
I think that her sister. I mean, she's not part of the garden, which I will say, and I know she works for others that she's mentioned that would not necessarily be as benevolent towards us. So it's like she's a more, I think, risky. There's more risk in trusting her than there would be with like someone from the garden. I will admit that, but I do trust her for what she is.
If she was rooting around inside your head, do you think that's something? Do you think there's anything that you think that's something you should tell the garden about, or tell?
We'll see. I'm not gonna panic about it right now. I don't think she's gonna do anything with that information as of the moment. I didn't get that sense from her, but
There's just not a lot going on up there.
I mean, no.
From inside of you, Fisher, you hear truer words haven't been spoken in a long while.
I didn't give her the orb though. She did ask for an orb, but I did not give her one. So.
Hey, there you go. Yeah. Good job. I think we're good to head out?
Yeah.
We're good to head out.
That's not fun.
Alright.
Jorg, you're muted.
Audience, I've been meaning to ask, what's your item?
Oh.
We can say that you all keep walking as you're talking about this.
I'll point
Walk
to
and
my
talk.
arm and I'll say, I was not born with my arm this way. And then I'll point to the kind of bracer on my wrist. I'll say, my arm started changing after I put this on. I can't completely tell what my item does yet, but I know it at least makes this arm, like, harder. Like, the scales are a lot harder. They feel like armor now. Like, they're a lot tougher than my normal scales.
See, and I punch him.
Like the scales of a dragon.
Unarmed strike.
I mean, yeah, if you punch me in the arm.
That probably still misses. What do I have to?
It's strength plus proficiency.
Yeah. So what's just my regular? That's a 18 to hit.
Yeah, you missed by one.
No, but
Yeah.
well, I was gonna say, audience, you're probably not trying to avoid this.
No,
I don't-
I mean, I assume it
I don't
hits
do
my
damage.
arm, but it doesn't
Yeah.
do any damage to me.
Then in
because
that
it
case,
doesn't-
your AC would probably go down the equivalence of your dexterity, so it would be enough for you to feel it, but not take any damage from it.
There's just a loud clang as he punches my arm.
Yep.
I'm like, yeah. Also, probably shouldn't ever do that if we're trying to be sneaky.
If we're,
You
I
just
mean,
see
that's
Raimi
what I sound
visibly
like when I'm
cringe.
trying to be sneaky. So
Fair
I don't need you for that.
How far do we have to travel, by the way, for this?
Half a day to get to the last village on the map before you have to go off-road. So there's a chance there to sleep. If not, it's about a quarter of a day, between a quarter and a third of a day to get from the village to the entrance in the mountain. So depending on how you want to do it, you could be there for nightfall and try to get inside and finish this before you get exhaustion points. Or you could sleep at the village, sleep at the entrance of the laboratory.
I mean, we're probably just gonna go try it. Well, how long is it? Half a day, you said, to the village?
Half a day to the village, yeah. And between a third and a quarter of a day to get...
I mean, we know that there was trouble with the door, so I'll say this party, I would say that we should go to the village, probably buy a room there, maybe at least go up and take a look at the door, talk with whoever's there, see if we can figure out anything, and then maybe go in the next day.
Sounds like a good idea.
Might be an idea. But yeah, I definitely think we should at least get there by tonight.
Yeah.
If only to not keep the gnome waiting any longer.
Yeah.
The gnome growing bored out of his mind, losing his sanity at the door.
Also, because I remember we didn't do this last time we went underground, I'll turn to Remy. I'll be like, I know I'm not the person to do this, but remember to summon our tree friend before we enter underground where we can't plant him anymore.
I see. Now that somebody else is carrying him, you're remembering?
Yes.
As long as somebody does. Jorg, why were you curious about his arm?
I haven't figured out mine yet. Mine's this little pendant, and I hold up. It's a little dog ornament that I have hanging on my staff. But can't figure out what it does.
Yeah, probably won't for a while.
Yeah.
They seem to take a bit to get kicking.
Did yours take a while?
Kind of, but he has been very vocal since he woke up.
Ah.
As far as I can tell,
about...
that's not
Rainy.
normal. Looking at the other two.
And Raimi's got his lantern.
Yeah, you were starting to say something, Remy?
Yep. Rainy in perhaps a voice that people recognize. He just opens his beak and says, "Show me more."
Yes, definitely. All of you recognize this as the odd voice that you have all heard at least once inside of your dream, which when you awoke you knew was your object talking to you, asking you to show more.
Mm-hmm. Is it the same voice, or is it just the same phrase?
It's the same phrase.
Okay.
Since the voice seemed to have been carried on the wind inside of your dream, there is a fair amount of resemblance. However, since this is the first time that you actually hear this from someone else, you do realize that there is a slight difference. There is a little element of personality that was inside of it. There were slight inflections which were similar to the voice of Taranad when you heard yours.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Have you had that dream yet?
I have. I don't know what it means.
It's, as far as we could tell, it's pretty literal.
Ah.
You gotta do some stuff. More than
what I've currently done.
Apparently saving a wandering grove and recapturing whatever evil beast was within wasn't good enough, but maybe it's because your first party died.
Could have been. but I think we're about to do some more.
Oh.
At this-
Raimi points to the ornament on your staff and says, "Now watch and learn, Raimi. This will be very important."
Fisher, I'm typing something to you because I don't want Jorg to hear it because it relates to object, but yours is speaking to you, so you could hear this. So Terenad tells you this.
This reminds me of Mario.
Wait, hold up. And Fisher like straight up stops walking.
Stop.
Wait, what do you mean we?
Fisher, we're on a time frame, not time to have another argument.
I'm busy. What do you mean we?
Walk and be busy.
Is Terenad responding at all?
Yeah.
Okay, you're typing it again.
Yeah. Damn dyslexia, I keep mixing up. That's what you hear from inside of you. So for the first time now you really are getting what it feels like when Fisher is talking to Terenad.
Okay. We're gonna need to talk about this later.
Yeah, I'm not always gonna write. It's just this specific moment.
Yeah. That is too terrible.
You wanna share, Fisher? We'll say because you stopped.
I'll start walking again. It's not important. I'll tell you about it when it is.
Okay.
If it is. Terenide might just be being a dick.
Fair enough.
You hear Terenad go, I've never understood that expression. It's not like I have one.
I don't either. It's just something people say. Pick up a lot of things on a boat. That is the least vulgar of...
You know, everyone think that there are only 9 major curse words, but you know that there are actually 13.
Yeah.
Raimi might know a few more.
Well, the same but in a different language. He can insult in Underdark. Alright.
How did Tyranid get in you?
I put him there.
Okay. Alright.
No,
Maybe...
it woke up and lashed itself onto me. I haven't been able to get rid of it since.
I also put my bracer on. That's how.
Oh, cool.
Don't worry, that thing's not gonna eat you. I think.
Yeah.
You look at audience who has most of an arm encased within this material that looks of the same color as the bracelet. You know, it's not gonna eat you, but then again,
Raimi takes his lantern, just like pulls it away from his body, then puts it back close to his body, pulls it away, puts it back close.
I'd say most likely yours is going to end up more like closer to that one than closer to ours.
I'm thinking so.
Unless it turns into an actual dog. Now that would be something.
Cool. Well, you've seen Tasul object, who looks like the figurine of a odd sort of mix between gnome, dragon, and Buddha. Actually, does come alive when he uses it.
Yeah. Basically, just I guess you kind of like gotta show you're worthy.
I can do that.
Just pull your weight, and we should be probably
Yep.
won't have to wait that long.
And don't randomly teleport us somewhere. You'll be doing better than our last party member.
Yep.
All right. I'll try. I don't even know how to teleport us yet. Figure that one out.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's easy. You just
We won't count the last one against you because technically you weren't in control, even though we were coming to get you when we got teleported.
All right. So, anything else you want to settle amongst yourself? All right. So, you keep on walking, and as always, it is a very windy day. Weather seems to be kind of better these last few days. It's slightly cool, but still very windy. But other than that, mostly clear skies. And as I did create a table for it, it'd sort of be a shame not to use it. Yeah. So, you walk outside of the city. As always, you know, since it's a large city, you do cross a few people as you come out. A few merchants leaving on their way toward wherever they're going. Some of them veering off immediately. Some of them arriving. And see, some of them are going roughly in the same direction as you, but those who are, all seems to be very small caravans. Probably some people looking to trade a few things to a village that isn't on the usual commercial road. So, you know, usually people who are less popular and, well, less known and just want to have a chance to be the first one to get to a village and, oh, hey, bring exotic goods. So, no one really stands out. And after maybe 2 or 3 hours of walk, you find yourself mostly alone walking on the road. Nothing really catches your attention unless you want to make a perception roll and see if there's something else that can actually pop up.
Are we going to get ambushed by bandits?
I don't know.
I got a 15.
I got a 13.
Audience.
You looked at something.
Audience did not make a perception roll because I don't know why he would. We're just alone.
He's just singing on the road, whistling, you know. Now there's the prospect of having 2 silver-haired lady in his life.
Someone else was rummaging around in his brain. Now he's trying to do it to see what's there.
And you never told us what was your final decision. Did you close the lid on Tery's box, or did you take him in your hand and start walking with it?
I did not close it.
All right. So you're just walking with an open box, or?
Yep.
Okay. Okay. Well, it's slightly weird. Probably got a few people just looking at you weird like this, but other than that,
I'm used to it for different reasons, but yeah, probably don't notice a difference.
Usually it's because of you. Now it's because of the box. It's the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like they often say, like a friend of mine very often says, same shit, different color. So you just keep on walking, and no, you don't see anything. Your senses are not warning you of something that might be approaching, and it does seem like it's because nothing is there, and nothing has been approaching as you walk for almost 4 hours. And then you finally get to this small village that is in the shadows of the mountains. Very calm. It's midday, so you see a lot of people just going back to their home for the evening meal, or for some an evening prayer. Life seems to be going pretty normal in this small village. Do you want to stop there for a reason? This would be the moment where you would have to decide between stopping there and sleeping there, or keep on going to the mountains.
I say we just keep going straight to the mountain.
Yeah. Let's just keep going.
Okay. Okay, so for the second half of the day, you just keep on walking, and at the end of the day, the weather seems to be clearing up, and the wind starts dying down. You don't know if it's because you're right up against the mountain and it's providing some sort of cover, but everything seems to be winding down in the temperature and the weather, and you are just taking in the sight, this very large mountain. Last time you were there, you had a guide, but now you have to find a bit your direction, but you do find the trail leading out and leading in the mountains, since you were told where it was. So, and after maybe another 3 hours of walk, you start picking up a little bit of altitude, and after another 15 minutes, you find this small emplacement where there probably was a camp there. There's a fire that's now been completely died off. You see a few tents, and you see maybe another 1 or 2 minutes of walk further a gnome who seems to be sleeping right beside a dug-in entrance inside of the mountain.
Nice.
So as you arrive, get closer to where he is, eventually just... What, can I help you?
Yes, we are the adventurers who are supposed to check out the laboratory.
Sorry, we're a little late.
Yeah, oh, okay. Hold on, and gets up and... Oh, yeah, wow, I wasn't sure you were still coming. I was told that a woman with silver hair was supposed to come and visit. I hope nothing happened to her.
No, she had to go. Something came up.
Oh, so you're the replacement. And then he
Uh,
paused. You're. Oh wow, this is gonna get confusing. So she's your replacement, but you're replacing her because you didn't show up the first time.
we are the originals and also the replacements, but you can call me audience.
Yeah, that's probably gonna be shorter. Although, maybe you'd fit well inside of a gnomish burrow. They tend to have a lot of nicknames.
I'll say perhaps I would and gnomish to him and think if it laugh.
Yeah, it's been a while since I heard someone speak my own language. He says that to you in gnomish. All right. Well, let's not keep this waiting. I mean, been here long enough, and like I said, there's the other person. The one that contacted us. There was a group that went in before, and well, I don't know. Maybe this is a bit of a exploration and also search and rescue. So yeah. Anything you need? He looks right up. Seems to be getting a bit dark outside. Maybe you'd like to take a little break before going, or I don't know. And he looks at Fisher. Maybe you're all really hardy adventurers and just ready to keep going in.
How far is the door from here?
30 feet.
Oh, I mean, I'll say I don't know if we'll probably won't enter tonight. We'll probably spend the night out here, but we should use at least the last daylight to at least check out the door and see if we can, because I heard there was some difficulty with it.
Oh well, yeah, that's a bit deeper inside, but yeah, basically there was a bit of a landslide, maybe a little over a month ago, and there was this crack that appeared, and some of the villagers thought that it might be maybe something that would yield some rare mineral. Villagers, they always want to make sure that their village gets some edge, a little bit of more money. So they went in, they asked a group of dwarf to dig in, and it opened after maybe 50 feet into a large opening. And this is where they realized that, the crack was actually something to hide something else. And this is when we realized that it was a laboratory. It's the first found on the island chain, which there's bound to be something very interesting in there, or not. If it's the first one, maybe he died, and we were sort of hoping anyway that this might have been the case, that he maybe died inside. So usually when they die inside of their own laboratory, defenses are not activated, but apparently they are. So be careful inside, and also it won't be an easy one. These arcane practitioners, they're a bit tricky.
Okay.
Were you here with the first group that went in?
Well, I was waiting outside. I didn't go in, but I knew them. Well, I seen them.
I was just. How did they get in?
Oh, they just entered to the opening there. It's where the crack used to be. The dwarf enlarged it a bit, make it more practical for taller species. And he looks at audience when he says that to get inside. But it is still a gnomish laboratory. So inside there's well, it might be a little tight
Short.
for some. Yeah. But at least they cleared the entrance all the way to the first room. And all I have is a vague description of the first room, which is a very large room, and there are odd glowing tiles on the floor, and that's about it. They told me that they stayed a day outside, and then they went back in, and well, it's been a week. So most likely either they're stuck inside because of a trap, or
they're dead.
not coming back because of a trap.
Okay.
Fair enough.
Alright. Well, do you want to go check out the door now, or do you want to just do that tomorrow?
Oh, that's really
Might
up.
as well check it out now.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, sure.
I was also asking because it's 1:47.
I know.
And I need
Sorry.
to...
Now isn't before our characters go to bed, not necessarily before we go to bed.
Okay. So if the question is if the players want to go to see the door now, we can take this 5-minute description, or we say that you're going, but
I'm gonna be honest, I'm no longer here. I have pretty much completely checked out. So
You say it now, you'll have to repeat it again.
Okay.
So.
Frankly, it might just be easier to say that they met with the dwarf and maybe just camped outside for the evening and just started fresh the next day.
I mean, yeah.
That's just me saying above.
Because it's
above
not really
table.
us saving any time at that point, because we'll just go. I mean, it doesn't really
Yeah.
matter.
Well, I'm considering if we just go into next session looking through the door and then decide not to go through, and then so we go all the way back to the building.
Yeah, no, I
Yeah.
agree.
No,
I
but
think
Take a
we
rest,
there-
and then
there-
just to go all the way back.
there is a small place where there was probably the camp where the gnome just talked about for the other group, and this would be just 50-70 feet away from the door, so you could always be there that night. And as always, Fisher can act as a sentry.
It's probably just
I'll just
easier
rest
to just
staring
do.
at the door.
It's probably also just easier though to do our rest now, so we don't have to do it the next session or have it take up time. So let's just say we just rest outside with the dwarf, and then we'll just go check out the door in the morning
With the gnome.
with the gnome.
That's-
Yeah,
that's it.
sorry. No.
As
As I said, I'm not here anymore.
Roll for sensitivity.
Listen,
Oof,
I'm
natural
7
one.
feet- I'm 7
All right, we
7
keep on
feet.
going.
I'm 7 feet. Okay, they're all dwarves to me.
From that high up.
All right. So, for audience, all gnomes are literally half the person he is. So, all right. Yeah, that's no problem. We can just set up the camp and have a little nap, full sleep, and I can just prepare something to eat if you want.
That'd be great. Thank you.
We do have provision for a group of 5 people for an entire week, and I've been alone eating that, so it's there's a little bit left. All right.
I'm good.
Okay. Well,
Or not quite.
I don't know.
Hey, Jorg, can I have a good berry?
Yeah. I'll give you a good berry. I'll give him a good berry.
I'll feed Terry.
I've got plenty of food for 10 people for one day here, but I'll eat some of yours.
You realize Tery threw up the last time he ate a good berry, right?
He threw up the last time
How do
he
you know?
ate Old rotten meat.
Oh.
Well, not exactly rotten, but there was definitely bacteria
started.
developing
You know what?
in it.
You know what? I missed that part. That's why I wasn't there. Never mind.
Yeah.
Yeah, the last thing Terry ate for me was a good berry, but I left, so never mind.
Yeah.
No, you're right. I realized.
So,
To be fair, audience wasn't there either, so.
yeah, you were talking to a silver-haired lady, getting your mind probed. Alright, so you sit down, the gnome lets you choose whatever place you want. The gnome does seem to have some level of arcane proficiency as he just gets near the fire and seems to use a firebolt cantrip to just light up the campfire. And alright, well, there's enough wood to last us throughout the night, so we don't need anything more. Just sit down, I'm gonna prepare the meal, and you can all go to bed right after. He sits down, starts preparing the meal, and this is where we're gonna end the session with everyone, except Fisher, having a very enjoyable, if not simple, meal. And so, this is where this session concludes. Finally, we are going to get inside the arcane laboratory. It's been a while. And I really wanted to do this before the player leveled up, so you know, there's some things inside that would be a bit unfair if you could use spell from one level higher. So
Fair enough.
Should have gone a little bit of grinding before we got in here.
Yeah.
yeah, well, that is your grinding.
We have been.
Yeah, what's the
I don't know what you guys are
respawn? What's the
talking about.
respawn
Randy
rate
has
on the
noticed a
level?
distinct lack of grinding.
Yeah.
Alright, so as everyone eats a meal and then goes to sleep, everyone seems to have a very quiet evening, good sleep, and if you want, you can, next session you can talk about what you talked about before going to sleep, but I think it's going to be a very quiet evening, but alright. It's all going to be next session as the party finally enters the arcane laboratory and the puzzles within. So Remy, be in shape next episode as you are the puzzle solver of the group.
Robbie, you will be carrying this next subject completely and utterly.
Well, you know, there might be a few fights.
It depends how I roll. If I actually roll decent.
Why do you guys think that Remy's strength score of 7 is going to be carrying anybody?
Well, he's carrying himself. Alright, so thank you all for watching. I hope you had a pleasant evening. I think we mostly all had. So we hope we'll see you again next week. And hey, thank you for leaving something in the chat. It's always nice to actually see who's there. So thank you very much. Thank you for being with us. Thank you for supporting us just by being there. But if you want to support us more, you can always follow us on Twitch, Twitter, and YouTube. And as a reminder, on Twitch, if we reach 50 followers, we can actually activate subscription, something that I would like very much. And of course, you can always support the stream by making a donation, becoming a Patreon, or simply by spreading the word of the channel to your friends, family, stranger. Hey, if you know someone that already has a channel and get them to come and watch, I wouldn't mind. So, see you all next week. Till then, stay safe, and especially in these really weird times we're living, stay healthy. Bye.
All right.
Good night.